On June 15, 2020, a lethal military conflict over disputed territory in the Himalayas shook the edifice of China-India relations. The debate on the long-term implications of the skirmishes between the nuclear-powered nations flared up. Economically, India has a significant influence over Chinese strategy given China's present trajectory and attitude. Both China and India, who are otherwise business rivals at heart, have always been viewed as competitors to gain a global footprint. Geographically, China is home to 1.41 billion people and India has a population of 1.39 billion. With so many challenges, is India ready to turbocharge itself and leap ahead of China?
250 साल तक जो हम पर राज करके गए थे, 250 साल तक उनको पीछे छोड़ करके हम दुनिया की इकोनॉमी में आगे निकल गए। 6 नंबर से 5 नंबर पर आने का जो आनंद होता है, उससे ज्यादा आनंद इसमें हुआ।
India has been a rare bright spot in the global economy, enjoying an estimated 7% growth rate in 2022. As the rest of the world is struggling with energy and financial crises, India is set to become the fastest among all major economies. The country is building infrastructure at a breakneck pace. From giving free food to 800 million Indians during the pandemic, to administering over 2 billion COVID vaccine jabs and a vast percentage of them free, India has exhibited a scale hardly seen before in human history. According to the International Monetary Fund projections, India surpassed the UK to become the world's 5th largest economy and is now only behind the United States, China, Japan and Germany.
आज वो मिजाज चाहिए, मैं मेरे देश को पीछे नहीं रहने दूंगा। हजारों साल की गुलामी से बाहर निकले हैं, अब मौका है, हम रुकेंगे नहीं।
India began its economic reform in the early 1990s, more than a decade after China.
China was also during these decades kind of as much of failure as India was economically. Yet it seems that somehow China was able to pull its weight a little more than we were able to.
That's an understatement, but yes. No, seriously, I mean, they are today 5 times your economy. There were 3 big things which went wrong for us. One was, of course, at the start, the partition. The second was the delay in exercising the nuclear option. And the third was the delay in the economic reforms. So, China not only did not get partitioned, actually China grew in this period, territorially. China exercised its nuclear option early, 1964.
However, under Prime Minister Modi's decisive leadership to deliver on the economy and development, India is reading along with its Quad partners, Australia, Japan and the US, to displace China as an expansionist. The GDP growth rate of India overtook the GDP growth rate of China in 2015. Even in 2022, India's economic growth is a threat to Beijing. China may be strong in manufacturing and infrastructure, and India in services and information technology. But the latter's manufacturing industry is becoming globally competitive. As per a report by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, China's economic growth in 2022 will be 3.9% down from 8.1% in 2021. On the contrary, the report expects Indian economy to grow 5.7% in 2022 and 4.7% in 2023. However, China's economic slowdown has had a peculiar impact on its trade with India. It is buying less from India but is selling more than before.
The current border situation is overall stable, and the phase of emergency response since the Galwan Valley incident has basically come to an end.
We continue to strive for a relationship with China, but one that is built on mutual sensitivity, mutual respect, and mutual interest.
War is a theatre of tragic irony and unforeseen contradictions. The Indian military sees China as its biggest threat, as late Chief of Defence Staff Bipin Rawat made clear in an interview in June 2021. For the last 2 years, India has insisted that there will be no normalization of relations with China unless the current border issues are resolved.
Right now, I think it's no secret we are going through a very difficult phase, and mainly because we have agreements with China going back to the 1990s, which prohibits bringing massing troops in the border areas. We have disregarded that. You know what happened in Galwan 2 years ago.
2 years after deadly fistfights, India and China pulled back from the disputed frontier high in the Himalayas on 12 September 2022. On September 13, India and China confirmed the disengagement of their troops from a fifth friction point in eastern Ladakh along the LAC. The violent clash at Galwan Valley in June 2020 led to the death of 20 Indian soldiers. As per an investigative report, China lost at least 40 Chinese soldiers. However, Beijing never accepted these claims and later admitted that 4 of its soldiers were killed during the hand-to-hand fighting. At an annual press briefing in Beijing, China acknowledged that ties with India had met with some setbacks in recent years, and China and India should not drain each other's energies.
China-India relations have encountered some setbacks in recent years, which do not serve the fundamental interests of the two countries and the two peoples. Indian proverb goes, "Help your brother's boat across, and your own will reach the shore."
After the deadly clash, the Modi government has gone from initially seeking increased economic ties with China to imposing restrictions. India is cooperating more closely with the United States, even at the risk of angering China. India has become more involved in the Indo-Pacific partnership known as the Quad, which features Australia, India, Japan, and the United States, despite Chinese objections. The Indian government has also spoken critically about the militarization of the Taiwan Strait and refused to reiterate the One China policy.
Like many other countries, India too is concerned at recent developments. We urge the exercise of restraint, avoidance of unilateral actions to change the status quo, de-escalation of tensions, and efforts to maintain peace and stability in the region.
Tensions with Beijing have driven New Delhi to try to reduce India's economic dependence on China. China and India have nuclear weapons. They have created the world's biggest armies, as the influence war on the Indian Ocean region has been predominant. China continues to support Pakistan, which India isn't happy about. And India still lets in Tibetan refugees, which China resents. However, experts are confident that in the longer term, if there is one country which, in terms of its size, population, economic potential, scientific and technical capabilities, can match or even surpass China, it is India.